Ryan Newman, congratulations on this victory here today, joined by crew chief Matt Borland. What's it feel like to win the Brickyard 400?
I'm not sure yet. I mean, I know at this point it's an amazing feeling. I'll say honestly, I was more emotional yesterday after I won the pole coming off turn 2 than I was the entire last lap or 2 laps after doing my donuts and everything else today. And I'm not sure why. I think it's something that I realized yesterday how special it was, and I think I took an emotional hit yesterday. But just an awesome day. Matt and all these guys did such a great job, and an awesome race car, probably the best race car I've ever driven in my entire life. And kind of sat there for a while and watched Jimmy, and I kept quiet on the radio, but I wanted to see who I was racing, and I played the old Pearson role, I guess you could say. But I just knew I had a really good car, and I didn't want to have a really good car and not win the race. So Matt's call really helped me out personally to get the track position that I need to take the 2 tires. And I was really just counting down laps from that point on. I knew a lot of guys needed to pit. I knew we were going to be the leader. I didn't know how far back Jimmy was. Finally, I asked, and he said at 4 seconds at that point. I knew I had to manage my race car, manage my tires, and it's really so difficult to pass. And I knew I had a really good long-run car, and his car was looking looser and looser as he ran when I was behind him there. So just an exciting day. Thank Quicken Loans and Chevrolet and Sprint and all the people, all the sponsors that we have that make it a year for us. But Tony Stewart and Stewart Haas Racing, they gave us the tools that we needed all weekend and all year for a great day.
Congratulations, Ryan. Matt Borland, talk about winning this race here today.
It's a great feeling for sure. I think I'm the happiest for Ryan and his family, and also for Lawrence Birch, our car chief. I mean, Indianapolis is such a big deal, and to win a big race in your hometown is huge. And you know, it's great to, you know, it's been a long time since we've been in the victory lane, so it's a good feeling for myself just from the standpoint of winning a race again. But just tremendous job by all the guys in the shop getting that car ready, and you know, perfect execution by all the guys this weekend getting the car ready, and you know, a great pit stop there at the end.
Questions now for Ryan or Matt. Let's start with Jenna, then we'll go Nate, and then to Lee.
Great, I get to go first. Jennifer, AP. Ryan, I was going to ask you about your lack of emotion, but you sort of already addressed that.
Ogres don't have emotion, you know that.
Strangely, the people on Twitter said the same thing. The Daytona 500 was also a big win, but as an Indiana guy, you know, is this one bigger? Are they the same?
I have this. I mean, I don't show a lot of emotion. I think everybody kind of knows me as that, but I have the same emotion. I have the same thankfulness that I did when I won the Daytona 500, because I feel that everybody that's been a part of my racing career, from people that have bought my racing uniform, bought me a right rear tire, you know, give us a gas card, a credit card to get to some racetrack at some point in my career. Those are the people that have made me and helped me get to where I am today. You know, Matt Borland's been an instrumental part of my racing career. Don Miller, who put Matt Borland and I back, you know, together. I shouldn't say back together for the first time back in 2000. You know, it's just people that have been instrumental in my career, and that could be the littlest thing I'm thankful for, and that's what I'm thinking about. I mean, to me, it's awesome to be here in Indy. It's awesome because it's my home state. I grew up, you know, racing around here, Winchester and Salem and IRP, and you know, even the little tracks like Anderson and places like that. And that makes it special. I mean, most people don't know I lived in a shop out in Pittsburgh, in Jeff Gordon's old shop, before I ever made it to NASCAR. I slept with the race cars. That was my summer job, was work on the race cars and sleep in the shop with them. And I've raced go-karts at pretty much every go-kart track around here. Been kicked out of half of them, but you know, it's those things. Those are the things that make it special, and I think of those things more than I carry the emotion on my cheeks.
Let's go with Nate and then Lee.
Nate Ryan, USA Today. Ryan, can you just talk about the last 2 weeks and just what I guess a range of emotions of finding out you're losing your ride, and then for next year, and then
I did
this win. Yeah, well, for next year. Yeah. Breaking news. and then getting the win here today. I guess the range of emotions, and does this help you in terms of 2014 and getting something, do you think?
I think obviously it helps. The emotions have been an absolute roller coaster, no doubt. I mean, Loudon was a disaster. It was a disaster, you know, because we got crashed out and all the things that happened and said and everything else, and we got through all that stuff. You know, we talked it out. But you know, that weekend off I think was good timing to be able to, I guess, hit Control Alt Delete and re-zero everything. And Matt and the guys did an amazing job to come here with a fast race car and give me what I needed. And we, you know, we all did it together. Not just here, the guys at the shop, the pit crew, everybody. You all know it's a huge team sport, and it makes it better for looking for something for 2014. For me, no different than Matt. I mean, there's a lot of questions to be answered, and we'll get through all that. But you know, today we're celebrating a victory.
Let's go to Lee, and then we'll go to Bruce.
Lee Spencer, FoxSports.com. Ryan, despite everything you've been right here.
Yeah, sorry.
Despite everything that you've been through, and not just this year, but last year, you're kind of in a similar predicament. Having Matt Borland, one of your dearest friends in the world, to be with you and help you guide through this, has it made the bad times easier?
No, it doesn't make the bad times easier because we're such good friends. It's hard to be mad when you're friends with somebody. I mean, it really. We are here for a reason. It's because of our relationship. It's because of our mentality, because of our analytical way of looking at things, because of our engineering background. All those things help, but separating that friendship from the business part of it, no different than Tony Stewart and I talked about in Loudon. It's difficult at times. You know, he's the one responsible for my race car, and we're friends. And there's times that he wants to slap me around. There's times when I want to slap him around, but we can't do that. It doesn't make the race car go faster. And we dealt through the same emotions together in Loudon, and I saw that and I felt that, and we re-zeroed. We came here and it proved that we can come back and we can fight back, and we're not out of this chase. We're not out of this chance for a championship. This wild card helps us, but it doesn't guarantee anything. We're still out, outside the points margin. So we just got to keep our nose to the grindstone. There's still a ton of racing left. Another 3 wins before the chase starts would be great.
Let's go with Bruce, Bob Pockris, and then Holly Kane.
Bruce Martin, Race Day on ESPN Radio, NationalSpeedsportNews.com. I spoke with your father out there. He said he came to his first Indy 500 when he was 8 years old, used to bring you a couple of times. How much of a feeling of pride do you have being only the second Indiana-born driver, your team owner being the other, to have won this race?
I mean, that's cool. I mean, I think it's coincidence that I'm born in Indiana. I would have an appreciation for this racetrack if I was born in Hawaii. I mean, to me, I think it helps being born here. It helps being born here, growing up close to it, and growing up around it and in it, no doubt. But I just am a big fan of cars. I'm a big fan of tires. I'm a big fan of making them go fast, and that's happened here since 1909, and I appreciate that. And my dad, I was counting down. I told everybody outside I was counting down from 10 to go, so I started at 12, and I was trying to trick myself into getting there quicker. But I remember my dad always telling me he was here when Parnelli broke with 4 to go, and I'm thinking to myself, it's 3 to go. I'm thinking to myself, we made it past where Parnelli made it. Those are the things that are going through my mind all at the same time. Trying not to hit the splitter on the rumble strips and hit the right side on the wall. It's challenging here.
Let's go with Bob, and then Holly, and then Lewis Frank.
Bob Hocker, Sporting News. I have one for Ryan and one for Matt. Ryan, do you feel your team has rallied at all behind you after the news came out that you wouldn't be back?
No, we're just a bunch of quitters.
Well, do you really?
Oh yeah, they rallied behind me. Look what happened yesterday and today after what happened in Loudon.
But you were trying all the other weeks too, so I'm
well, we were waiting for. I told you yesterday we were waiting for a special time to make all this stuff happen. It's like the perfect storm. I got fired a couple weeks ago. Come back here and win the pole, win the race, and it's all because of hard effort. It's all because these guys haven't given up. They want to win just as bad as I do. And I did my job today, keeping it off the fence and hitting my pit stall box and things like that. And they did their job. And we always rally behind each other. And there's times that we fail. And that's why it's a team sport, and that's what makes it so tough. I'm only a percentage of what gets us to victory lane. It's not a free throw. It's not a slow pitch. There's tough stuff going on out there, and these guys are behind me, and I'm behind them.
And for Matt, Stewart Haas Racing has a kind of a history. You know, when Tony won the championship, the guys pretty much knew or was expected that Darian was going to be leaving. Did these guys, having seen that in the shop, does that help at all to kind of keep people together and know just, hey, just put your head down and go do your jobs?
No, not really. Like Ryan said, I mean, the guys bust their butts every day. You know, they're working hard. They want to win every race. They want to win the championship. They're digging. I mean, we brought our best car here that we've ever built. You know, we're hoping by next week or 2 weeks from now to have an even better car. You know, every week we didn't win. We went back to the shop knowing we needed to get better. It wasn't bad luck that we didn't win. It was we weren't giving Ryan a good enough car, and we weren't bringing a good enough piece to the racetrack. And there's not one person on that team that doesn't try and win every week and make that car better every week. And you know, it's a good group of people. Just like Ryan said, it's a team sport, and you know, no one expects him to quit. No one expects me to quit. No one expects any of the guys on the team to quit. They all do a fantastic job.
Let's go Holly Kane and then Lewis Frank.
Holly Kane, NASCAR.com. This question is actually for you, Matt. Was it just a no-brainer that you would get the 2 tires on that stop? And did you see that Jimmy had actually had a slow stop even with the 4 tires? And what kind of went through your mind when you saw, okay, you know, opportunity here?
We talked about it a little bit before the race started, but we made our decision the second to last stop what we were going to do and got ourselves set up for that position. So what happened with Jimmy really didn't play into our hands much. We knew we had to do something to win the race and put ourselves in the best position and best tire position. And we looked at what the guys did earlier on in the race, taking 2 tires and taking no tires. And we looked at how many laps we needed to run before we pitted to put ourselves in that good spot. And so it really didn't have a lot to do with what was going on with the 48 at that time. It had more to do with what happened 140 laps before that. No idea.
I was thinking, including the Daytona 500 in 2008, every win I've had since then has been on a 2-tire strategy on the last pit stop. Yeah. Wow. Phoenix and Martinsville, and here, Loudon was no tires forever. I mean, it's just, no, it's track position is so huge.
Let's go with Lewis, and then we'll come up here to Mike, and then Dick.
Lewis Frank Auto Week. Holly asked my main question, but actually, Ryan, you went on 2 tires at California Speedway once with Matt. But my question is, now that you're with Matt, you're talking more geek to us. Control, Alt, Delete, 0 out. I didn't hear you. Is this question?
Are you a Matt guy or what?
No, I'm a
Yeah. Steve Jobs called. He's looking for a replacement.
Go ahead, Mike. Mike, and then we'll go to Dick.
Mike Neff from FrontStretch.com. First of all, Ryan, thanks for doing Purdue proud today. We appreciate that here in Indiana. From Thursday Night Thunder to winning a Brickyard, you came up primarily through the open wheel ranks. And outside of Kyle Larson these days, it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of other guys coming up that way. Is that still a viable route to get to professional upper echelon, whether it be IndyCar or stock car racing?
It is, but it's not the same as it used to be. That USAC series doesn't have the national exposure through television that it had before. They raced Silver Crown and midgets last night at IRP. I think they had 17 Silver Crown cars and 14 midgets. We used to have 60 Silver Crown cars and 35 or 40 midgets. And, TV was there, and it was a big deal. And now it is just a little line at the bottom of the TV as to who won. So my dad even told me this morning, he goes, you were lucky that we did that when we did. And we were lucky that we did that when we did, because we caught it at the tail end of when it was as good as it was. And that makes a difference. It makes a difference for everybody. You don't see a lot of racing on a short track level so much anymore on TV. It used to be you'd catch an ASA race every once in a while and things like that. It's just it's not there like it used to be, and that makes a difference for those younger drivers that are coming up. It's job security for me from my standpoint. But you got guys like Carl Larson and there's other guys that are coming up that are they're making it. They're doing it. I mean, there's kids that are winning sprint car races that are really, really good, and they may never get seen. They may never get that opportunity.
Let's Let's go to Dick, and then anybody else after Dick will ask questions maybe for Matt so we can get to tear down.
First, congratulations. Second, 20 years ago, I used to get press releases, I think from your mother, about your beginning racing career at the Indianapolis News, and talk about how much your family helped you and your decision to go to Purdue, where other drivers were already getting into the 500 and stuff at 20 or so.
My family's huge, and it's that support. I would not be here today without their support, without their drive, without their dedication, without my dad's guidance. My dad never pushed me; he just guided me, and I think that's important for any parent out there to, provide the tools that you need. Give them that toolbox, but don't grab their hand and make them swing the hammer. And I'm very thankful for my mom, my dad, my sister, and all members of my family, because they've been a part of making it happen, whether it's flipping burgers while we're all working on the race car or helping polish and clean the car, things like that. And I've had people, Bo Carryhard, who's no longer with us, he's a good old midget racing fan that he used to do those press releases that you're talking about. And he did it for free. He did it, I'd go over to his place and we'd race trucks at Flemington on the NASCAR simulator game or something like that for a night, and we'd talk about racing, and he'd do up a press release, and just times and people and things like that. And that's why I said I don't show my emotion on my cheeks. It's because I'm so thankful, and I'm thinking about those people that have given me this opportunity. You see Matt sitting next to me, but there's 1,000 other people who have given me so many things to get to where I am today. And that's the same thing for Tony Stewart and Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson and all those other people, but I'm just it's between my ears right now. And you said something about Purdue. For me, it was an opportunity. My parents literally pushed me out of the door and said, "Go to college." I didn't want to. And I'll say it in front of everybody, I was tired of school. I wanted to go racing. I was winning races. I was having fun. To me, it was like, let's just keep doing this. And they said, no, go get your engineering degree. And, fortunately, the pattern was there from people like Alan Kulwicki and Mark Donahue and Matt at the same time. I think kind of had that same mentality of he loved racing, but he also loved working on cars and making them go faster, tricking them out, not necessarily bending the rules, but making them make rules about what you're working on. And that makes a difference. And we've got a common language now because of my engineering degree. He happened to go to GMI, and I went to Purdue, but they still talk in physics and three equations and things like that. So math is a big part of what we do and a big part of what makes the race car go faster.
Let's go to Nate, and then we'll ask if anybody else has questions for Matt.
Okay.
And then we'll take those and then dismiss Matt. Go ahead, Nate.
Sorry, Nate Ryan, USA Today Sports. I have one for Ryan, then one for Ryan and Matt. This is for Jenna because she doesn't have a voice, Ryan.
I was excited too, I know.
Yeah, I know. Tony Stewart used to talk about like how he used to rush home from school to watch the Indy 500. Do you have any childhood memories or stories like that about Indy?
I came here once for the Indy 500. I believe it was '86. I was talking to somebody a couple weeks ago, and I believe it was '86 when they got rained out till Tuesday. And I think that was that Sullivan spin and win year or something like that, maybe.
85.
Ray Hall's win. Anyways, it was that year because I remember I sat in the middle of 1 and 2, and I watched, what was it, the Marmon Wasp? Was that the old 32 yellow car? I remember watching it out in the rain, thinking that was the neatest thing, hearing something that was, or watching something that was making more smoke than it was noise. But, that was one of my first history moments with the Speedway here. I never got a chance to come back and actually watch the race. I had something called school the next Tuesday, but it was special for me then. I came down here whenever they first tested. What was it, 92 or 93? And I was actually with my mom. We were going over to Hoosier to pick up tires for my midget race car, and we heard stock cars here. We heard some noise at the Speedway. We decided to drive in, drove right in, walked right into the garage, and that was the day I talked to Jeff Gordon and asked him about if he had the opportunity to go to college and get an engineering degree and be a race car driver, would he do it if he had a chance to do it all over again? And he said absolutely. So he's one of the two guys that I talked to, him and Ken Schrader, that gave me partially the goal of doing that. My parents helped push me, but I wanted to make sure it was the right thing to do. So why not go to the horse's mouth and see if it would be the right thing to do? And those are my two memories, off the top of my head.
And then the other one for you and Matt, today's win, the way you guys won it, two-tire strategy, it felt, to me at least, a lot reminiscent of 2003 when you guys used to win like this all the time. And at that time, you guys were kind of you were the Johnson and Knaus of Sprint Cup. Do you ever reflect back on that? And have you guys felt like you recaptured any of that this season, the magic you guys had 10 years ago?
We've worked on it. It's not easy. I mean, there's a lot of things that have changed, but yeah, I mean that's our goal. I mean, those guys are and have been the benchmark, for a long time. And they've been beat before by other teams, but we were the last duo to give them a really good run for their money on a regular basis. And I'm not saying just because we won today that we're going to go out and do it again next week, but that's our goal. We're there to beat everybody. It just so happens they're usually the team that you have to beat in order to do that.
Yeah, like you said, it's hard to like you say recapture that magic, but it's for me. It's probably been 2005, 8 years since I've been to Victory Lane. So, you question all the things that you're doing, and or you think you're doing things the way you used to do them, and it doesn't work and doesn't work and doesn't work and doesn't work. And this weekend it worked, and it was all those same things that we've been doing all year and that we did 8-10 years ago, and you got to keep believing that you're doing the right things for the right reasons, and eventually it's gonna work. And like Ryan said, I mean, Chad and Jimmy, I mean they've dominated this sport for the last 10 years, and if you're gonna win races and win championships, you're gonna have to go toe to toe with them. And today was a great day, but we got a lot of work to do in the next 6 races and a lot of work to do in the next 16.
Other questions for Matt Borland? Let's go to Jim Utter. Do you have one, Bruce? Jim Utter, Bruce, and Lee.
Jim Utter, Charlotte Observers for Matt and for Ryan. It kind of follows on Nate's question. There were a lot of people who probably thought at the beginning of the year that since you had spent so much time working together, perhaps it would be easier to just kind of put the pieces back together and pick up where you left off. I just wondered if each of you could talk just a little bit about how your relationship is maybe different than it was before, and was it a little actually more difficult trying to work together when you had been apart for so long?
We worked on building Matt and I's relationship, or rekindling our relationship as a driver crew chief in the off season, and Matt took the responsibility on his shoulders once we decided what we were going to do, and put together a group of guys that some had tremendous experience and some had no experience at all. And that's been something that's kind of been tough for me to work through, is because of where I am in my career. I want the best guys, and Matt has took the weight on his shoulders to take those guys and make them the best guys, and today they were. It hasn't been like that the entire season. We've gone through some growing pains. We've gone through some things that it was Captain Obvious would have raised the flag instantly, but that's learning, and that's been tough for me. I know it's been tough for him, but those are the people that he believes in. Those are the people that we believe in, and I have kind of sat back and let him do that part as a crew chief. That's his job. My job is to go out there and give him the feedback and drive the car and be responsible with what I do, so that we can have something at the end of the race. And all that's a big challenge. It's a big challenge for every team, but I think a lot of people didn't see that or didn't know that as to how our team came together for 2013.
Yeah, along those same lines, we got 4 races there at the end of the season to try and get things rolling again, and things went really well. I think we finished like 11th, 12th, 3rd, and 5th. It's like, wow, this is easy. We're right back to where we were. But starting this season, I realized all the things that I hadn't realized over the past several years of not being a crew chief. And like you said, we had to build a whole team of people and get people in place and figure out where people do their best work and where they don't do their best work, and how to make all those people fit together the best that we can. And that's definitely been a challenge all year. But I know for me, I wish I was more prepared starting the season than what I was to help Ryan with this season, and like you said, there's been a lot of mistakes along the way this year, and I know I've learned from each and every one of them, and you get better and better each week in realizing the things you're doing right and the things you're doing wrong, and you know, when you have a weekend like this, it's great. Everything went perfect. This is the kind of weekend you shoot for every weekend, but the reality is that doesn't happen very often. So, you know, you enjoy it this weekend. You learn what things you think you did right and what you did wrong, but when you sit back and think about it, you really didn't do anything different. It just, things worked out. And hopefully we can keep this cycle going, but the cycle always changes, and you always have those down weeks. You always have those down months. You always have those times when you're not sure if it's going to cycle back up, but it always does, and it always goes back the other way. So we're enjoying today, and we'll hopefully keep doing this for a while.
All right, let's go to Bruce Martin.
This is for Matt. With Ryan's engineering degree and his understanding of engineering throughout your time together, how valuable has that been for you as a crew chief to have an engineer behind the wheel that can really hone in specifically on what's going on with the car?
I think it's huge for half the reasons. You know, like he said, we've got a common language there. We can talk about problems that are going on with the car, and I can tell him what we're thinking about doing. He understands what I'm talking about. He can pitch some different ideas to me, looking at things differently, and it gets me thinking about things in a different manner. And
we have some hellacious arguments too.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say earlier. I mean, Lee, to your question, I mean, you typically get in the biggest fights with the people you like the best. I know I do. You know, you get in huge fights with your wife. You get in huge fights with your friends. You know, like he said, between Daniel Canos, one of our race engineers, Ryan and myself, we all have very strong opinions. We all have we think we're right in what we're thinking, and that's the reason that we're thinking that. So we tend to get in arguments over those things because we think we're right. But what that ends up doing is getting you to look at things a little bit differently, and that's huge. But to your point, the other part that makes Ryan as good as he is, and it has nothing really to do on the engineering side, but he can feel everything that's going on with that race car. And as much as you hate it sometimes, 99 times out of 100, he's right about what he's feeling, and he's pointing you down a road that if you look there, you're going to find, you know, the light at the end of the tunnel. So I think between feeling those things and then being able to describe those things in a common language really helps.
Go ahead, Holly. Do you have a question? Oh, okay. Does anyone have a question for Matt? Okay, let's go to Lee.
To kind of follow up on that, since he is a friend of yours and you guys have a relationship off the track as well as on, is it tough watching, you know, what he's had to go through this year and the fact that he is losing his job? And my husband, who's upstairs, he said to ask you if you intend on staying at Stewart-Haas Racing after your friend leaves.
Yeah, it's very tough. I mean, for a couple of reasons. One, obviously Ryan's a great friend. We've had tons of history together. You know, I don't want to see him go. It's a shame, and I feel like a lot. Like I said earlier, I feel like if I was better prepared to start this season, maybe things would have changed, been different. So from that end, it is hard, and you know, every weekend you go home when things don't go right, and you beat yourself up about what things you could have done better or more. So that part's very, very frustrating. I'm not sure there's another part to that question. At this point, I'm not sure what next year's going to bring. Right now, 100% of my focus and our whole team's focus is on, you know, doing as best we can in these next 6 races and doing the best we can in the next 16.
We're going to open a fruit stand in Statesville if anybody's interested.
Do I get to drive the tractor?
Yeah, you can drive the tractor. You also get to change the oil in the tractor.
All right. Do we have any additional questions for Matt before we leave? Okay, go ahead.
Mike Neff from frontstretch.com. Matt, the new Generation 6 car, there's some things that are different that you didn't have before. How much fun have you and the other slide rule guys that are on your team had working within the new boundaries to come up with ways to make the car faster?
It's always fun. Any new car is fun because it's a challenge. It's something different. It's why you do testing. It's why you go to the wind tunnel, why you do simulation work. so anytime they change the rules and go to something different, it's fantastic. As far as if I think this car is better than the old car, that's a different question. But anytime there's rule changes, that it gets your blood boiling or blood pumping as far as what things you can do to try and make the best piece possible.
All right. Any additional questions for Matt or Ryan? All right.
Ryan, first of all, how long did it take you to complete your degree at Purdue? And then secondly, how did you kind of strike a balance in your schedule with traveling to race and trying to complete a degree?
I graduated high school in '96 from LaSalle in South Bend and went to Purdue the fall of '96 and went there for 4 years straight. And after the fourth year, I basically took, I think it was 2 semesters off and graduated the summer of 2001 via 2 online courses. That's all I had was 2 electives that I needed to finish. And it wasn't easy for me to finish because I was working at the time with Penske and working pretty hard on winning races there. So I actually got my diploma the summer of 2001 in vehicle structure engineering. And I forgot the second part of your question. I was striking a balance at school. It was really tough, and it was tough because, like anything in life, you find the people that care and you find the people that really don't care. And there were professors that cared about who I was and what I did because they liked racing, and there were people that didn't have a clue what racing was and didn't care. And it helped when in the later years when I got to some of the 400 level courses in my vehicle structure engineering group that those people were more likely the ones, because they were in classes of 20 instead of classes of 400, that really cared, and they were understanding and helped me to be able to turn my homework in at certain times and get the things done that I needed to. I graduated with a 2.01. I needed a 2.0 to graduate, and fortunately on that diploma it doesn't have a GPA. But I got my diploma, and and at the same time, I listened really good when I was in school, and they told me that most kids that got 4.0s struggled to get jobs because they were too smart for their own good, and I wanted to be that average guy.